to the session on empowering the people of Pakistan, a pathway to sustainable development. Um, I think the esteemed panel is so high powered that it needs no introduction. We have Dr. G.M. Arif, who is an institution in himself, has contributed to PIDE for 30, 40 years, has worked in the ADP, in Population Council on very important demographic topics related to urban demography, poverty measures, and child undernourishment. So whatever introduction I'll give to him or even to Ms. Rabia Awan, for she has been instrumental in data collection, whether it is high as PSLM, it's the agriculture censuses, or even the National Digital 2023 survey. She was among those who designed and implemented it. So any introduction I give to them would be very, not up to the level. Besides that, we have Dr. Shujaat, who is expert in social policy, and Ma'am Saima, who's a rising demographer. So I don't think I'm going to waste time in the introduction. Given we have started a little late, and initially it was planned that Professor Arif will set the stage with his presentation. But since Ma'am Saima has some personal emergency, so I will start off first the discussion that I wanted to gauge Ma'am Saima on. Basically, when we talk about empowering people of Pakistan, the first thing that comes into mind is, about the dynamics of our population. If we have such high population growth rates with such high population size, then how will we deliver social investments, like in terms of education and health, to this in an appropriate manner? Looking into the current surveys that have come out, one interesting thing that have came out is that infant mortality rates for Pakistan are showing a declining trend. Despite that, fertility rates, as per National Census 2023, also as per PDHS, are showing that total fertility rates, they are very much high and they are stagnant. So in this context, I will like Dr. Saima to elaborate on, from demographic perspective, that is it because we in Pakistan, females are not much aware about contraceptive uses, or they have lack of access, or there's something else? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Madiha, and thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to share this esteemed panel with such honorable guest. I am still a student of demography. And thank you so much for considering my request, because I have to leave early due to some personal commitment. It's a very, very important question, because recently when we looked at the Household Integrated Economic Survey results, then if we look at the social sector report, the estimates are really impressive. There is a lot of progress in so many social indicators, be it education, be it health, and some other population welfare estimates. Having said so, and we also looked at, as you mentioned, about the infant mortality rate. Infant mortality rate has declined substantially from 60 per 1,000 live birth to 47 per 1,000 live birth. But at the same time, if we look at that, then we see that the total fertility rate is stagnant. It is not going down. So actually, theoretically, when demographically we speak, then demographic theory says that when the infant mortality and child mortality goes down, then actually fertility has to go down as well. But that's not happening, because the parents, they not look at the national average. They look at their own perception. They see what is happening around. So might be the social indicators improvement, which we are seeing through these different estimates, that are not actually went into the perception, that have not yet changed the people perception, that they are not really confident about that, whether their children will survive or not. At the same time, this highest data is also showing at the national estimates and giving us the rural urban estimates. But as we are still waiting for the PSLM, it is going into the field. Rabia will talk about that. in this year, and by the end of the year, we will have the estimate at the district level. So we will see that what type of, like at the district level and the provincial level, what type of, like where the discrepancies are. Are there certain regions who are driving this decline in infant mortality rate? Or is it some other indicators? In short, we can say that decline in infant mortality rate is a necessary condition, but it's not sufficient. For me, there are certain other aspects which we need to look into. First of all, for the fertility to go down, we need to look at the contraceptive prevalence rate, our family planning program. So again, if we highest estimates, because this is the most recent data, so I am talking about this, but so there is only 3% increase in contraceptive prevalence rate in last 5 years. So this is nothing as if we compare our estimates with the neighboring countries where the contraceptive prevalence rate, family planning methods are very well established. And for instance, in Bangladesh, more than 50% of the women are using contraceptions. But in Pakistan, there are only 38%. And if we disaggregate that 38%, then only 29% of the women are using the traditional methods. And only rest of them, like 9%, are using the modern contraceptive method. Similarly, 20% of the women have the unmet need for family planning, those who want to avoid another child, but they do not have access to the contraception or family planning centers to manage their fertility. So in terms of, if we look at the contraceptive prevalence, then we see there is a large discrepancy between rural and urban areas. Urban centers are really ahead of the rural centers, but much of our fertility is driven by the rural centers. Thirdly, another aspect, if we look at the 1990 is that era in which population has declined substantially in Pakistan. And if you look at that, that was the time when the contraception prevalence rate has increased substantially from 9% to around 26 to 28%. If we look at that, what extra thing we did in that time period, that is really important to look at. And for me, I think it is the introduction of the Lady Health Worker Program. Lady Health Worker Program was Pakistan the most indigenous program in health sector, and all the evaluation, and it is also taught at different universities now. If we look at the mother and child health indicators, that was the time when mother and child health indicators improved substantially because the lady health worker were the part of the community. They were trusted as well. They can go to the people, they could provide those steps. So that was a game changer. But after 2005, we see there is a lot of stagnation in mother and child health indicators. Then the devolution happened, and that's another story. If we are talking about contraception, but at the same time, we need to look at the social and cultural aspects to that. Because contraception cannot do anything. It cannot change anything until and unless the perception around the family size does not change. So if we look at the demographic health survey, we see that currently still the desired family size of Pakistani couple is on average 4. And if we look correlated with the contraception, then we see that contraception uptake increases as the couple achieve their desired family size, and mostly after the 3 to 4 children. So contraception uptake is really high. The percentage goes up 50% when the couple achieve their desired family size, that is on average 4 children. And son preference is also, though the estimates might not but I believe that the son preference is quite strong due to so many different reasons, particularly in rural areas, because our social safety network is quite weak. And parents still consider having a son as an old age security, as an income security, to provide them support during the illness, during the other catastrophic, for instance, if we talk about the climate aspects now, then during these catastrophic events, then they depend on their son to help and support them. And last but not least, the most important aspect is the women empowerment. It is not that I am saying this, but it is an established fact that the fertility goes down, population growth rate goes down as more and more women are entering into the education or they are achieving the higher education. If we look at the Pakistan's demographics, so Pakistani women made 49% of Pakistan's population, but around 50% of them have never been to school. So that's a very important aspect, because if we look at the trajectory of fertility rate along the women's education, then we see that educated women fertility is much lower than the as compared to the women who have no formal education. So having said, so if I just sum it up, then we say that infant mortality rate declining, that is a very welcome step, but at the same time, it is not a sufficient condition. We need to take a holistic approach if we want to manage our population growth rate. We need to work on the human capital, particularly the female education, because female education is the one that leads to the improvement in mother and child health indicators. Then we need to look at the service delivery. So as you mentioned that the awareness of contraception is 99%. But the uptake is only 38%. So what are the reasons behind that, that women are not going into that? So I will stop here.
In context of women empowerment, there are some interesting patterns on the screen where we have, I've drawn some estimates from labor force, current labor force 2024, 25. What we see is as we move from older to younger cohorts, the gap in education as well as labor force participation remains for both male and female. But when we see the within male and female attainment profile, you can see that, tendency, there's a behavioral shift both in education as well in labor force participation rate, where female are basically, when they get educated, they are entering into labor force in much higher quantity. And I've checked this through regression as well. So, and if I compare this to like 10 years back, this was not so. So do you think, even though the proportion of female entering labor force is very small, and in education it's also very small, but this changing behavioral pattern, do you think there's hope in it beside contraception?
So actually, I am a very optimistic person, and I still believe that if we work towards the women empowerment, then we can manage our population. We will have a more productive population. And as you are right, if you go back to the previous graph, then we see that younger cohorts are more and more entering in, younger cohorts of women are more and more entering into labor market. Exactly. So that's a very welcome step, because when a woman enters into the labor market, the opportunity cost of having more children increases. And also it builds their aspirations to have a better lifestyle. It combines that and they have access as well as the resources to exercise their agency, to manage their family, to plan their family. But if you look at this graph, then we see that although younger cohort of women are more and more entering into the labor market, but as they age, they are dropping out of the labor market. So there are some other aspects that are might be the environment. Labor market environment is not that conducive enough that women are able to stay in the labor force for a long time. And at the same time, there is a huge gap. Women are way behind men in terms of the labor market participation rate. If I just give you the statistics, in currently Pakistan have 180 million working age population, that is 10 plus. And out of them, 88 million are women. Out of those 88 million, only 18 million of women are employed. Those who are, and if we look at that, out of those 18 million, 86% are working in informal sector. And informal sector has very precarious conditions. There are low wages, the working environment is not that conducive. It does not bring meaningful opportunities to your life. So with this type of labor market opportunities for women, then how can we actually see? And again, if I look at that employment by different categories, then 61% of these women are working in agriculture sector. So these statistics are not very optimistic, but I still believe that if we invest into the human capital, of both men and women, but particularly the women, with more focus and providing them some meaningful opportunities into the labor market, then we might need to bring down our population growth rate. So that's a very necessary condition if you really want to have your population manage and have more productive. Because if 50% of your population is out of the labor market, then how can you expect that you will have the demographic dividend, the sort of which the East Asian countries have?
And one final question. When we talk about stagnation of fertility, generally, like the discourse that happened in Population Council, we were talking about national aggregates. But if we see that at provincial level, there are a lot of discrepancies, not just in the fertility, but also in other aspects that relate to fertility. Do you not think that, we have to move in context of NFC and 18th Amendment, we have to move beyond these to further down to local bodies at district level?
I absolutely agree with it. And as I mentioned before, that national estimates are sometimes not as meaningful when we really need to dig deep down into the reason of why there is a stagnation. So I totally believe, and that's why I was saying that I am really looking forward to have the PSLM and PDHS coming by the end of the year to see what are the grassroots level realities are there. In aspect of that, if I may, then we see that our National Finance Commission Award, it gives almost 82% of the share is based on the population. So that's the biggest incentive for the provinces to not focus on the population as per. Because, for instance, if you are having 100 rupees in your kitty, you are getting an 82%, 82 rupees you are getting just for having a large population, then why should I reduce my family size? So that's one way. But at the same time, when we talk about the NFC, we need to look at other structural issues. Population is just one aspect in the National Finance Commission Award. We need to look at some other aspect. And due to the 18th Amendment, the original idea of 18th Amendment was to give power to the very local level, at the district and union council level. But our devolution is also not complete. It is just, we devolved from federal to the provincial, but now still the powers are at the provincial centers and they are not going down to the district level. So the finances, until and unless the districts will not compete with each other and will not perform, you cannot expect that the indicators will improve.
Thank you, ma'am Saima. I will now like to invite Dr. Arif to come and present his work.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. शुक्रिया जी पाइड का इनवाइट करने का. Come back home after a long time. The topic, this urban demographic transition in Pakistan, basically is related to a work I did a couple of years back at Population Council. And the main finding of that work was that we are weak in demographic achievements, what Dr. Saima is saying, primarily because of our weak structural transformation. We have not transformed the society, mainly from an agrarian society towards a modern industrial and urban society. When I just went through this whole topic deeply, then I found this the new thing of this urban demographic transition, and I found it quite interesting to share my views on this topic. And the objective, primarily in my mind, is that not only to share the views, but also maybe to give some motivation to young researchers at PIDE to have a research on this quite important, you can say, field of urbanization and demographic transition and structural transformation of the society, whatever you could like this one. The process of urban demographic transition, it combines two transitions. The one is demographic transition and other is the urban transition. And interestingly, this urban demographic transition, it is sequential. It has a sequence. Then it is interconnected, and also it is interdependent. But in Pakistan, we have largely discussed about the demographic transition, and we have very seldom debate on urban transition. And the combining these two, I think it has rarely been researched or rarely has been debated in Pakistan. While these two are very much related with each other, we cannot achieve demographic transition, but Dr. Saima is saying, without urbanization, and we cannot achieve urbanization level, whatever we want to achieve, without achieving the demographic transition. Demographic transition creates a condition where urbanization occurs. Then urbanization contribute to, particularly to the fertility transition. And between these two things, two transitions, urban and urbanization and demographic transition, there is a structural transformation of the society. Society transformed from primary rural sector, agriculture sector to modern urbanization sector. And migration plays the key role. When we say the urbanization, we cannot think urbanization without migration. The migration plays a key role in this whole thing. And ultimately, this urbanization transition completes when more than 50% of a population reach to live the urban area. And after that, it is a post, you can say, urbanization phenomena. And if we cannot have a development when we achieve this 50% urbanization, then it means we have missed the opportunity. So I wonder that the Pakistan may be like we are missing the demographic opportunity, would be similar that we may miss the urbanization or the urban transition opportunity as well. Just to explain, I think this, when we say the structural transformation, when this is successful, it always starts with the agriculture transformation, modernization of agriculture. Agriculture plays a key role in this whole transformation process. Agriculture modernizes, then it provides the food which is needed for any nation, reduce poverty. It also supplies labor to the urban sector, industrial sector, and even in some countries, this has been a source of saving for this industrialization in any country. But importance of agriculture reduces over time in terms of employment, also GDP, because urban sector and the industrial sector take over this whole process. So if you see then population, urbanization, industrialization, modernization of agriculture, everything is linked. They are closely linked with each other. If we want to achieve anything, it is not possible without leaving these things. They are part of the economy, they are part of the society, and without holistic approach, it could be a quite difficult thing. Just to explain that how it occurs, I will go quickly. This is the very famous demographic transition, which I think in economics also is taught, in sociology also, and demography is the key thing. I want to explain that how urbanization occurs with demographic transition. If you see here, these are the two graphs, birth rate and death rate. In the beginning, high birth and low, high birth rate, high death rate, there's a very small increase in the total population. When we see the transition starts, always it starts with the declining death rate. First is declining death rate, then after a long time, we will see fertility starts declining. So this period is the increase in population. When population increases, urban population share also increases. But the death rate is always higher in rural areas, and urban fertility is also lower generally. So we get the higher urban growth than rural growth, and migration also contribute in it. So these 2-3 factors, if you see this one, so demographic transition initially creates the conditions for urbanization to occur. If you look to the world phenomena as a whole, like in 1960, out of the total 3 billion world population, 1 billion was in rural areas and 2 billion was in urban areas. But look at the present in 2024, if you see out of the 8 billion population, more than 4 billion or close to 5 billion people are now living in the urban areas globally. So it means that it is not only the demographic phenomena or the demographic transition, urbanization also takes place. Now, what is the situation in Pakistan? That's the main figure which I would like to share with you. This is the demographic transition in Pakistan. If you see this line, these are the birth rates, these are the death rates. They both are coming down. But like in previous demographic transition, we are far away from the demographic transition. Demographic transition completes when we have birth and death rates equal. It means there's no major increase in population growth or population growth rate. This is the experience of many countries, but in many countries, it is now negative growth. I think more recent phenomena is the China, where population growth is negative. But the theory says that every nation is moving towards the demographic transition, and this transition is quite slow in Pakistan, looking to this gap this way. But to look the urbanization graph, this percent urban in Pakistan, it is much higher than what we have seen in the 1951 census. It was only 17%, and now about 39% of population is living in urban areas. And these are the quite conservative estimate, but the independent estimates that the people who have did some estimation when I was in PIDE, I think in 2003, at that time, my estimate was that the population living in urban areas is close to 39%. And now you can see after 30 years, we are reaching to this 39%. Actual maybe 45% or maybe 50% if we relax the definition of this one. By using this definition, what I think we get from the census, it is expected that the population urbanization could be 50% in next 1.5 or 2 decades period. Now, the main thing is that demographic transition did contribute in urbanization, but urbanization could not contribute in fueling the fertility transition. Fertility is still quite high. So why it is so? We can see the many other factors which we have listened from Dr. Saima. They all are true, and it is right. We need all these things. But the main thing is that the society could not transform during this period, because the society effects or your demographic behavior or your many other behavior, we are influenced by the changes in our whole society and changes you can say how do we live, how we earn, how we do everything in this one. Now, if you see the situation of Pakistan, I have many other graphs, but I don't want to go into detail to give chance to our other friends. That during this period of, you can say 60 or 70 years, neither we have modernization of agriculture, not we have seen a major change in our industrialization. Rather, our industrialization much weaker than it used to be in the 60s and 70s. And the only growth we have witnessed in urban areas, it is in the services sector. So my conclusion from this whole thing which I have been doing recently is that because in Pakistan, structural transformation is weak. And remember structural transformation, what we are saying, moving from agrarian structure or rural structure to the modern urban industrial sector, it is quite weak in Pakistan. Because of this weakness, we are not benefiting from these two transitions. Urban demographic transition, it has benefited increasing the urbanization, but urbanization could not, you can say, fuel further demographic transition. So the how can we do this one? Without transforming of the society or the economy particularly, it is difficult to bring a major change in Pakistan. And when we say this one, Pakistan needs to give opportunities, to give investment opportunities to all our three sectors: agriculture, industry, and services sector. In addition to these three one, but Ms. Madiha asked the question from Dr. Saima, we need to strengthen the city government, not only the decentralization, but also the city government, because urbanization is linked with the strong city governments. If in most part of the world, developed world, you will see the city governments are quite strong. They invest on urban areas so the people can have opportunity to make some investment over there and to achieve the good level of the development. And then human capital and human capital investment is quite important as well. If we can do this combination of these things, it means the structured transformation of our society and also investment on the population and improving our governance system, particularly the city governments, then we will be able to benefit from the both urban and demographic transition. Otherwise, I fear that we may achieve the 50% level of urbanization. We may achieve the demographic lower level, but we may not be a developed nation. We need to do this one. We need some more research on this one. I hope that the younger researchers who are sitting over here, they can dig more into detail that how this phenomena, which is linked with the development, urbanization, demographic transition, how we can tell our nation better than what we have now. Thank you very much.
I think Dr. Arif was graceful enough that he finished in time, but these graphs, I think these are very important for us to review. So especially in context of what he was telling us about that, in terms of sectoral employment, the most important sector that is taking place is the services sector. And we, like he has pointed out, that manufacturing has not played much role. And secondly, in terms of migration, he missed out in his, due to lack of time probably, but in his presentation, another key finding of his is that there's a lot of reliance on overseas migration. So in this context, I have a question for you, sir. When we see the UN 2022 World Population Report, what we find is that, it took almost 11 years to double from 7 to 8 million and 16 years to double from 8 to 9 million. And it has been estimated that by year to 2050 something, it will take 21 more years to double. So the rate at which the world population is doubling is decreasing, right? And when we say that Pakistan has a very high rate of population, but there are many other countries in the world who have very low rate of population, right? So what I'm trying to say is that, your work has spoken that, Pakistan has mainly relied on remittances. Initially, it was Gulf representatives, which was like low skilled. But now we have opportunity to train our workforce better. So don't you think that, yes, rate of population needs to go down, but, this emphasis that has been on discourse on that, we have such a high population growth rate and this will, keep, impacting the size of population for years, decades to come. Don't you think that, through migration and as well as through gig economy, we can cover that to some extent. And secondly, another question I have is in context of sustainable development. In context of population discourse globally, there was a lot of emphasis on population before MDGs and SDGs. But if you see MDGs and SDGs and the way they have formulated their targets, most of their targets are, like I'll give you an example. In context of hunger, it's in relative, they are using undernourished prevalence rate, which is ratio of population, right? So if you measure hunger as a ratio of population, and if you or if you set the target of cutting to half, say, absolute number of underpopulation, then the result will be totally different. So don't you think in that context, even MTGs and now even SDGs should have everything as absolute targets and not relative to population? And does in globally in discourse population has been undermined to some extent? Yes, these are two questions, and then I'll move to Dr. Shujaat.
First question about doubling time. But it is not doubling time. It is basically increasing 1 billion more population in the world. It takes sometime 10 years, sometimes 7 years, depending on the population growth. The doubling time is different. If it's a 1% growth rate, like world is growing at the moment, even less than 1%, it will take almost 100 years to double the world population.
But it was not doubling, it was addition of 1 billion.
Yes,
That's what I was
world population is likely to stable at 10 billion, close to the 10 billion one. The other issue what you are saying, my main submission is that it is not only just remittances or many other things. My main submission is that which I think PIDE can do some research as well in their research agenda. It is part of the research agenda. I was here in the council meeting. We part are there, but you need to this one. That we need to work on how our economy and society can be structurally transformed. And this transformation is not dependent only on one thing. Rather, it is taking the holistic approach, investing on people on the one hand, and also investing on our different sectors, which are quite important.
Yes.
At the moment, we are not in a good position to achieve this sustainable development and many other things. This SDGs, what you are saying in terms of absolute or the rate, I have read your question written as well. But I don't think Madam Rabia can tell us better that it does not make any difference if you take the absolute value or if you take the proportion. Like say the number of poor. There are two ways. One is to say the poverty rate and other is the number of poor. Even if we want to decline the poverty rate, then if you focus only on number, then rate may remain the same one if we reduce the number one. So I think the better choice could be the rate one.
Just like in a population, rate is more
one,
important
yeah.
than size.
But in some cases, number is important as well, what you are saying. Like census has shown us that the कितना 2.5 करोड़ बच्चा स्कूल से बाहर है 5 और 16 साल के दरमियान. अब ये वो फिगर है, बड़ी अलार्मिंग फिगर है जिसको हाईलाइट करने की जरूरत भी है. यहाँ रेट से इतना अहम ना हो, रेट चीजें छुपा देता है, परसेंटेज उसको अहम कर देता है. आपकी बात ये सही है. अब अनएम्प्लॉयमेंट रेट हम कहते हैं जी 6% है, वो छुपा देता है. जब आप उसको ब्लो करते हैं तो पता चलता है कि 4-5 मिलियन और उसमें से भी मेजॉरिटी यूथ जो है वो अनएम्प्लॉयड है. तो मे बी कि जी बोथ का कॉम्बिनेशन अगर हम चलाएं अपने टारगेट्स में, दैट वुड बी द बेटर वन.
Thank you, sir. Sir Shujaat, I have put this slide for you primarily because this shows that, in context of sectoral employment, it's the services sector that's contributing the most, right? And the other slide that I will like audience to know is this one, in which Dr. Arif has basically paved the way of how can we cope with He has actually sort of provided what should be the policy interventions through which Pakistan can come out from this crisis that we are facing. That we are urbanizing, but yet our fertility levels are not declining. And what are the required action? So in this context, since you are specialist in social protection as well as you have a lot of work on unemployment and poverty. So I want you to set the stage of what intervention government is taking, and that another, because we have short of time, so I will ask the other question simultaneously, is that Pakistan is very resource constrained, right? So how do we fund these programs? If you can elaborate on this. And my final question to you would be, in context of SDGs, like I asked about the population dynamic, there is a criticism on SDGs that it's a neoliberal agenda. It's focusing on growth and it's sort of coupling the negative impacts of growth by adding the agenda of climate and, social and environment and so forth. Do you agree?
Thank you. Thank you, Madiha. Let me to start from your last question, that is sustainable development goal. It is Western agenda or our own agenda. I think there is no issue. For example, if we see the 16, 17 SDGs indicators, so we are saying that let's end of poverty, end of hunger, improve education, improve access to health facilities. So I think, for example, forget a little bit that these are SDG goals, but I think every welfare society, it must have to achieve the well-being of its citizens. And if we are talking about the climate change, so again, you can see that what sort of losses right now we are facing. So in just 2010 and 2022 flood, more than 75 billion losses that have been occurred. And the climate changes that we are facing right now, it is chances that in next 1 to 2 decades, we will face in agriculture productivity around 20 to 25% losses. So definitely we have to make our home in order. So I don't think that SDG is a Western agenda. Yes, we have to improve education, we have to improve access to health facilities and all human capital measures that we have to take. Coming to social protection, I think Arif Saab has mentioned very rightly at the end that look at the economic growth, what we have achieved over the last 20, 30 years. So for example, in last 25 years, our export went to 3 times, Bangladesh export went to 10 times, Vietnam export went to 30 times. These all countries were even below to us in 2021. So unfortunately, we are missing the growth agenda. Since 2008, yes, here I think that donors has made a critical intervention in country that now our social protection agenda that is too heavy as compared to our growth agenda. So we have made a lot of intervention in social protection that are not sustainable, right? Like for example, BISP, ideally it should be provincial subject after 18th Amendment, but federal government is running, its budget is now right close to PSTP budget. Again, health insurance, none of the country have universal health insurance, but we are running again, it's unsustainable program. You cannot run with a universal health insurance. And unfortunately, social protection have three components. One is social safety net, other is social insurance, and third is social security. We are just focusing on social safety net. Social safety net never eradicate poverty or bring any equality or equity or resilience in the society. So you can see, for example, in BISP, 30 to 35% of the rural household, they are getting transfer from BISP, but the 2022 flood, I think it had swept all the benefits. So we have to focus on social insurance, social security, when even we are talking about fertility and contraceptive as well. So these programs might create certain resilience in the market. Now coming to the labor side, For example, if you see the 2025-year cohort of labor force participation, there is a good picture as well and bad picture as well. Still, females are not coming in labor force despite getting education, despite certain elimination of gender inequality at lower level, and especially at the higher education level. Still, informal economy is dominating. But there are certain good things. For example, in recent survey, there is a gig share is rising. First time now, females are coming in various sectors where we cannot imagine. For example, wholesale, retail activities, now females are coming in these sectors. But all this labor market, basically, that is the reflection of your economic activities. So economic activities, I think, matters a lot. For example, if we have 2 to 3 papers from PIDE on rural transformation, so still rural transformation have 4 stages. First is staple food production. Second is agriculture diversification. Third is rising non-farm sector. And fourth is a robust integration between rural and urban, what Arif Saab is calling it structural transformation. So still we are struggling at the second stage. We are trying to diversify our agriculture sector. Still, yes, our non-agriculture sector in rural areas, that is providing the job opportunities, but its quality is too low. If you compare it with China, etc., where you can see that their SMEs, they are competing their urban sectors, but our rural non-farm sector, that is very subsistence, that is totally informal. So I think thanks to overseas migration, me and Arif Saab has the paper that every year we are sending 7-8 lakh peoples outside, and this is your 3 to 4% of your labor force. So this is providing you a big relief. Uh, on educated side, again, since growth is not happening, so that's why return to education is declining for educated people. So labor trend shows that your educated people, they are facing tremendous pressure over the time. So that is the thing. Second, if you see the for example, labor force survey from 2001 to onward right now, still our 2/3 of the labor force or employment that is concentrated in low sector jobs. Again, it is reflecting your economic activities. Ideally, when you have the good growth, people move from low skills to medium skills and high skills. But still, our concentration that is concentrated on the low side. So I think this demographic transition, although it is slow, in many countries, for example, Korea started late demographic transition as compared to Europe, but they have a very good economic growth and they achieved even earlier than Europe. We started our demographic transition, I think, in late 80s and early 90s. We were expecting that we will finish it around 2030, but due to decline in stagnation in fertility, it is likely that it will go up to 2050. So whenever you have the demographic transition, it provides you opportunity in 3 areas. So first is saving, because you have a fairly young population. So if you see the life cycle hypothesis of macro, young people save and old people dissave. But over the last 5 decades, savings are stagnant. Second is whenever you have the demographic transition, you usually face more female labor force participation. Again, we are missing this half. And third is technical and vocational skills, because this is the education that usually transform the economy. In Korea, just demographic transition, it contributed 30 to 40% in their growth because they rightly invested on their youth. So I think from the macro lens, we have to focus seriously on our economic growth agenda. With this 2 to 3% growth, our per capita income would be stagnant, and just contraceptive, etc., that will have no impact on fertility. There is famous Beaker model, household production, that there is choice between quantity and quality. So female, if they will go in labor market, definitely there will be quality aspect. And second, on the micro side, Arif Saab has mentioned, that is the access to education. Still, recent highs is showing that's 25% of the children from age 5 to 16, they are out of school. That is a serious concern. Quality, again, that is a serious concern. The children who are not enrolled or drop out, I think 1/3 of the children, they are saying that child is not willing. So that is the atmosphere, that is the environment. Something is happening in home, in school, or in that environment. So we have to shift that environment through which we have to really improve the education.
Thank you,
for
Dr.
both.
Now, my final round of questions to Ms. Rabia. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Why has data been not coming out for such a long time? And, it's taken like for highest PSLM and PDHS to come out so late. Second question is that, you have contributed a lot in digitalization of data. So will that lead to not just increasing the pace and improvement the quality of data, but also will it lead to us having more panel data from which we have none so far from PBS? And final is that, you were one of the, among the, I believe, the pioneers who started PSLM for monitoring of SDGs. Do you think it's doing the sufficient role, especially in terms of checks on climate side?
Thank you very much. First of all, I'm thankful to you for inviting me in this panel. And really grateful और कि इतने esteemed panelist के साथ में बैठी हूँ, and they are my seniors. I have learned from them, all of them. First of all, let's start from one thing, data. Actually, the important thing which we have to understand is that you can't conduct survey every year. I am a demographer, but they are the senior demographers with me. Every year you can't expect a change. Demographic changes take time. Social indicators need time to change. You cannot expect change every year. But why we have not conducted surveys after 2021? There's a big reason behind it. Actually, as per the best international practices, whenever you have to conduct the census, you don't conduct surveys during that period. Why? To reduce the duplications and the burden on the respondents. So actually, we conducted census in 2017. And then we started our regular surveys. We conducted highest in 2018-19. We conducted labor force survey in that year. We conducted Pakistan Social and Living Standard Measurement Survey in 1920, and then labor force again in 2020-21. Then the CCI decided in 2021 to have a census again in 2022, actually. And when you have to conduct a census, it's a gigantic exercise. When there's an election, you go yourself for a vote. But for a census, we have to go to every household to collect the data. It's a gigantic national exercise. So every resource has to be put on this direction to plan accordingly. And you know that 2023 census was a digital census. So bigger task, bigger challenge was there. That is the reason that surveys were not conducted in that period. Because of the international practices, UN guidelines, and due to the reason that we have to divert our whole resources to the census conduct. As soon as the census completed in 2023, we started work on the preparation of the labor force and the highest, and of course, also the finalization of results. So we conducted both of the surveys in 2024-25. Now we have planned for PSLM survey, which is going to be started in May 2026. And then PDHS, the last PDHS was conducted in 2017-18. And then there is no PDHS, which was actually conducted by National Institute of Population Studies, not by us. But now the planning has asked us to conduct that survey. So we will be conducting that survey from July onwards also. So this is the reason that there is a delay. But as you see that we conducted the survey in 2024-25, we given the results within the 5 months. So that is the question. I come to your question of digitalization. that because of the digitization, we were able to complete the survey rounds not only on time, but we are also able to improve the quality of the data. Because with the digitization, we have reduced the process of manual data cleaning, manual data entry, and we put more emphasis on data cleaning and quality and monitoring of that. So it has helped us, but let me tell you that even it will increase the pace of the survey, but we have to give some space in between the surveys, so that it's a very resource extensive exercise. You have to put so many resources to conduct surveys, both financial and human both. So we have to plan accordingly for everything. So that is the reason that we are not planning survey every year. We are planning accordingly to the needs. You talk about SDGs. There are 17 goals, 169 targets, and 244 indicators. Which is the biggest source for the monitoring of SDGs? It's like PSLM and the highest service.
Yes.
Out of the 66 indicators monitored by PBS, 31 indicators being monitored through these services, 33 indicators. But still, what we are covering is mostly social indicators, some income measures, some poverty measures, some nourishment measures. But there's a big gap on the climate issue. 33 indicators related to climate are not being monitored in Pakistan properly. We don't have any data and there is no system. Before me, everybody talked about the devolution. Devolution has taken its toll actually on something also. That is, the climate has been given to the provinces, but they don't have capacity to report on the data or collect the data on that. So that is the main reason we are facing issues. I am the national focal person for SDGs also. I have to coordinate with every department to report on the data. But we are failed to get data from the provinces, and we don't have the main thing which we are facing is that coordination and the capacity of the provinces. And the third thing, which is very important, is data literacy. How they don't understand what we want actually, what we have to report on that. And the last thing, which is very important, I don't know how many of people living, sitting here have visited Pakistan Bureau of Statistics website.
I have, for sure. Many times.
Researchers must have, because so much data sets are there on the website. And the good thing is that now we have dashboards. And that dashboard give you instant values up to the village level for the census. Do visit our website, the website and the tab Data Insights. Just go to that tab and just visit all the dashboards. If you look at the population and housing census, you don't have to ask anything from me. Everything is available there. So there is a data available, but the main thing is that we are becoming lazy people actually. We don't look at these resources. We say Pakistan Bureau of Statistics data nahi deta. Data is all micro data sets are available on PBS website. I will request you all to visit our website, visit our micro data sets. It's available in SPSS and Stata with all the documentation. We are there for guidance also. कि अगर आपको कहीं पर कोई मसला आता है, we are there to help you out. But everything is available. आप research करते हैं सारे लोग. Use that data set for research. So that's all.
Ma'am Rabia, since you have also worked on gender parity for PSLM 2000, and there's a very interesting pattern which relates to comment of Dr. Shujaat as well. As you can see in these graphs, when we see the gaps between male and female, from the as you move from older to younger cohorts, for both education attainment as a share of total population, those who attended school, and for those who, in context of labor force participation rate as a share from total participant in labor force, we are seeing that, males are at much higher advantage. But there's a very interesting graph over here, which shows that when you see within the male and within the female attainment education distribution, as well within the male and female labor force participation distribution, there is a behavioral shift in LFS 2024-25 estimates, where you can see that females at high level posts, even though they are much smaller in proportion than males, they are within their distribution, they have higher tendency for secondary and tertiary education. And once they get education, they are participating in labor force at higher rates than male, which is very interesting. So that's something I wanted to point out for Dr. Shujaat. And I think maybe it's related to gig economy to some level, because that's something I need to check. But please, if you can say something about, do you think that, behavioral shifts are happening for females? I will like this Ms. Rabia to answer, because she has conducted the LFS as well as Dr. Shujaat.
When I joined this office in 1999, so we are only 5 females in that office.
Yes.
And this is 2026. Now we have around 200 females in this office. So this is the change we are getting. If you look at the gender parity at the primary level, it has increased to 92%.
No, what I'm asking is, for me, this result was mind-boggling. When I did this for this exercise, because when I did it like 10 years back, I saw a disconnect between education and labor force participation. But now when I see, you can see that, females are within the female labor force participation attainment distribution, as they get secondary and tertiary education, the rate at which they are participating is higher than male, which is a huge behavioral shift, I believe.
I can't say what will the exact reason, but I also studied it from the data. We have one section in data, it's women in decision making. So the main determinant was employment and education. Whenever you attain education, you also try to have the employment to become financially independent. So in this, behavioral change is coming in our society, that girls are getting more education and then they think that they have to become financial independent.
Yes, exactly.
So that is the reason they are moving towards that thing.
Quite high, say 2 decades ago, but it's very acceptable even in rural areas. If women work for wages, there's no major constraint or problem. Are the problem is getting, I think, lower and lower over the time.
Sir, Shujaat, some final words from you, please. Then I'll move to the discussions from this student.
So I think, again, there should be focus on inclusive growth. So first, for example, we have calculated the employment elasticity to growth, that is around 2. So you know that our labor force that is growing at the rate of around 4%. So we need 7 to 8% economic growth. So that is quite clear message that we require economic growth that create job opportunities. Second, we have to invest on social inclusion. So social inclusion could be to remove certain market barriers. For example, we are talking on female labor force participation. So there are certain structural barriers, and even we have to invest on human capital. And third could be the social protection. Again, I would emphasize that let's focus on social security and social insurance programs that build resilience among the marginalized societies. So all this framework, it require a robust governance framework. So unfortunately, governance that is strongly missing. So whether you see the saving, whether you see the efficiency of government, NFC award, PFC, lack of district government, etc. So here I think quality of government functioning that create the enabling environment, we have to focus that.
Since we have surpassed our time, and we have just like, I think we can take a liberty of 15 more minutes. So I'll take 3 questions from the audience. Please raise your hands and please direct your question to whom you want to answer, please.
Thank you so much. Very important discussion. So basic issue with Pakistan is that we have the lack of opportunities. especially when we talk about the graduates and for the highly skilled peoples. So what need to be done, as we have also seen that although the share of gig economy in Pakistan is 2.9% for the main jobs and subsidy it is 10%, but on these jobs, more than 40% people are highly educated and skilled people. And one of my estimates shows that although that the participation rate of female in labor market is very low, 25% in Pakistan as compared to the neighboring countries, but why they are low participation? That is due to domestic responsibilities and due to the social norms. But in the gig economy, they are more performing and more participate. So what do you think that what is the potential in the gig economy when we have the lack of opportunities in Pakistan? And what are the regulations we have need and how we can promote this for the future prospects? So thank you so much.
My first question to Dr. Ms. Rabia. मैम एक सर्वे है जो कि बहुत ही बेनिफिशियल हो सकता है, लेकिन इन लास्ट 2 डेकेड्स जो कि कंडक्ट नहीं हुआ है, टाइम यूज सर्वे के इकोनॉमी में कोई भी इंडिविजुअल जो है वो लास्ट 24 आवर्स या अपना टोटल टाइम किस तरह स्पेंड कर रहा है. इफ समवन इज लुकिंग टू चेक द कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस ऑफ वुमेन डबल वर्क, कि वो इधर फॉर्मल सेक्टर में भी काम कर रही है और घर जाके इनफॉर्मल एक्टिविटीज़ में भी इन्वॉल्व है, तो उसके क्या कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस आते हैं उसकी हेल्थ में. सेकंड क्वेश्चन इज माय टू डॉक्टर आरिफ. सर, आपने ले डाउन की हैं इंटरवेंशंस जो कि फॉर टू कर्टल दी अर्बन पॉपुलेशन फ्लडिंग जो कि रूरल सेक्टर से अर्बन में हो रही है. सो आपने जो 5 स्टेजेस सर एक्सप्लेन की थी, सो अगर हम उन 5 स्टेजेस को देखें जहाँ पे पॉपुलेशन इंक्रीज होती है, स्टेज 3 एंड स्टेज 4, सो वहाँ पे क्यों आपने जो इंटरवेंशंस ले डाउन की थी, अगर वो शैलो में काम करेंगी तो वो इतनी ज़्यादा इफेक्टिव नहीं होगी, तो क्यों एक गवर्नमेंट ऑफ पाकिस्तान एक सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट प्लान के साथ आती है सामने, जिसमें एक मेजर प्लान हो, जैसे कि पोस्ट वर्ल्ड वार 2 के इन जापान जहाँ पे पॉपुलेशन जो थी वो रूरल एरिया से अर्बन की तरफ फ्लडिंग होना शुरू हो गई, टोक्यो एंड मेजर सिटीज, सो दे कम अप विद अ प्लान ऑफ सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के उससे हम अपनी अर्बन पॉपुलेशन फ्लडिंग को कर्टल करें. सो इज समथिंग के पाकिस्तान गवर्नमेंट ऑफ पाकिस्तान इस तरह का एक यूनिफाइड मेजर प्रोग्राम के साथ सामने आए. थैंक यू सर.
वुमेन एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज जो मैं वैसे इसमें थोड़ा सा मुख्तलिफ चीज़ कहूँगा कि जी पाइड को कुछ थोड़ा सा ज़्यादा रिसर्च करनी चाहिए इस पर, कि इस वक्त अगर आप देखें कि तो डाटा जो है हमारे पास काफ़ी अवेलेबल है एम्प्लॉयमेंट की अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ को देखने का, और अनलेस वी हैव गुड रिसर्च, गुड आर्टिकल्स, उसमें पॉलिसी इंटरवेंशन भी नहीं निकल सकते. जैसे आपने चीज़ें हाईलाइट की, इट्स क्वाइट इम्पॉर्टेंट, वी नीड टू डू सम मोर रिसर्च एज दैट. इश्यू इस वक्त सिर्फ वुमेन एम्प्लॉयमेंट का नहीं है, हमारी मेन की एम्प्लॉयमेंट का भी है, यानी बहुत जेंडर के लिए है कि जी उसको जनरेट करें. अगर आप वर्ल्ड बैंक के प्रेसिडेंट की याद करें पिछले हफ्ते जो उसने कहा कि पाकिस्तान नीड्स टू क्रिएट हाउ मच 10 million jobs in 30 million jobs in 10 years. और 30 million jobs in 10 years, डॉक्टर साइमा ने भी जो चैप्टर एक लिखा था उसमें भी उन्होंने मोर और लेस यही चीज़ अपनी उसके अंदर एस्टिमेट की थी. और वो फिर डॉक्टर शुजात की बात के साथ भी लिंक करता है कि एवरीथिंग इज लिंक्ड विद द ग्रोथ. और अगर आप मेरी गुफ्तगू को भी जहन में डाल लें तो ग्रोथ सिंपल ग्रोथ तो नहीं होगी जब तक आप उस सोसाइटी को ट्रांसफॉर्म ना करें. 2 दिन पहले मैं सुन रहा था टीवी पे, इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट बैठे हुए थे और वो कह रहे थे जब तक आपकी इंडस्ट्रियल ग्रोथ नहीं होती पाकिस्तान में कुछ नहीं हो पाता. इट मीन्स दैट वी हैव वीकेंड आवरसेल्फ इन एवरी सेक्टर. तो उसको जब तक नहीं करेंगे तो सिंपल वुमेन के लिए जो अपॉर्चुनिटीज क्रिएट करना भी इतना आसान नहीं होगा, जो मेरी ओपिनियन है. दूसरा, जो अर्बन फ्लडिंग की आप बात कर रहे थे, मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि जी अर्बन में फ्लडिंग हो रही है, बल्कि मैं तो इस फेवर में हूँ कि रूरल को आने दें. या वो क्या करेंगे, मतलब कि आप मैंने चाइना की तरह कंस्ट्रेंट तो नहीं कर सकते कि जी आप रोक दें उसको. यहाँ जो मेन पॉइंट है कि हमें अपने अर्बन को बेहतर करने की ज़रूरत है और एग्रीकल्चर को भी स्ट्रांग करने की ज़रूरत है। एग्रीकल्चर इज नॉट वी वांट टू मेक इट स्ट्रांग कि जी अर्बन में लोग ना आए, बल्कि अगर एग्रीकल्चर स्ट्रांग होगी तो अर्बन में ज़्यादा लोग आएंगे, कि थोड़े लोग उस चीज़ को प्रोड्यूस कर सकेंगे। जैसे अगर आपका जीडीपी में एग्रीकल्चर का रेशो 22% है, तो एम्प्लॉयमेंट में उसका रेशो भी 22 पे आना चाहिए, जो नहीं आ रहा उसमें। दूसरा, आपने मैडम राबिया को सजेस्ट किया टाइम यूज सर्वे का। मैं अगर पायट से क्वेश्चन पूछूं कि कितने लोगों ने पिछला सर्वे टाइम यूज यूज किया है?
Sir, last study I know is it was you and Najma
हाँ, मैं
Saqib.
वही पूछ रहा हूँ ना कि
And after that, nobody used it.
डॉक्टर नजम साकिब और मैंने हमने पेपर किया था उस टाइम यूज सर्वे पे, आज से कोई शायद 15-18 साल पहले। तो कितने लोगों ने उसको यूज किया था? आप देखें, बहुत कम है। बड़ी अहम चीज ये, एक मॉड्यूल डाल के भी कर सकते हैं मेरे ख्याल में। ये आपने अच्छा।
लेबर फोर्स सर्वे जो अभी हुआ है ना, उसमें एक मॉड्यूल है पूरा डालकर, तो वो उसमें टाइम यूज सर्वे तो एक्सटेंसिव सर्वे पूरा था, लेकिन उसका बेसिक मकसद यही था अनपेड केयर भी देखें, वर्क जो है वो भी देखें। तो अभी आप अगर लेबर फोर्स सर्वे का माइक्रो डेटा देखें तो उसमें एक पूरा मॉड्यूल नया डाला गया है। उसके अंदर इस चीज को मर्दों औरतों दोनों के लिए कवर किया गया है। उतना एक्सटेंसिव नहीं है, लेकिन इट विल गिव यू द पिक्चर दैट हाउ मच टाइम इज बीइंग स्पेंट ऑन वर्क। मर्द कितना टाइम कहाँ स्पेंड कर रहे हैं, किस काम पे कर रहे हैं, औरतें कितना कर रही हैं, केयर गिविंग में कितना कर रही हैं, इट्स देयर। लेकिन फुल फ्लैट सर्वे करना, मैंने आपको थोड़ी देर पहले बताया था कि बहुत एफिशिएंट होता है, रिसोर्स भी और फाइनेंशियल भी। तो ये पिछली दफा भी जब हुआ था ना, तो ये फाइनेंस में उस वक्त जेंडर रिस्पॉन्सिव बजटिंग इनिशिएटिव था, उसके तहत हमने किया था। उसके बाद इतनी सारी चीजें हम लोगों ने की हैं, 2 बड़े सेंसस किए, अब एग्रीकल्चर सेंसस किया है। सो लिस्ट इज लॉन्ग। तो इंशाल्लाह जब हमारे पास होगा तो इंशाल्लाह वो भी हम कर लेंगे।
Sir, final words. I think we are waiting, tea is waiting for us, so I will like you to conclude the session.
थैंक यू, थैंक यू। सो ब्रॉडर मैसेज इज, जो डॉक्टर हिना आप भी कह रही हैं कि देर इज पार्टिसिपेशन, देर आर वर्किंग आवर्स, इवन वी हैव एनालाइज दिस लेबर फोर्स सर्वे, और फीमेल के जो वर्किंग आवर्स हैं दैट आर क्लोज टू मेल, बट दैट इज गोइंग टू केयर वर्क। सो वो ट्रांसलेशन नहीं हो रही है। सो हमारी सोसाइटी में भी आई थिंक कुछ ऐसे बिहेवियरल एट्रीब्यूट्स हैं दैट आर रिस्ट्रिक्टिंग द फीमेल इन लेबर फोर्स पार्टिसिपेशन। 2 चीजें कहूंगा कि फॉर एग्जांपल आप बांग्लादेश को देखें, तो बांग्लादेश ने पिछले 20 साल में टेक्सटाइल में फीमेल की बड़ी जबरदस्त एंट्री हुई है। ठीक है, मलेशिया को मैंने क्लोजली ऑब्जर्व किया है, दे हैव नो दिस जेंडर बाइजनेस एक्सेट्रा। तो हमारे कुछ वो स्टीरियो फैक्टर्स ऐसे हैं, वो सप्लाई साइड पे भी होंगे, वो डिमांड साइड पे भी होंगे। इट वाज अराउंड आई थिंक 1 ईयर अगो, आई वाज गोइंग टू लाहौर, डाइवो में जा रहा था, और वो रोड होस्टेस थी। तो मैंने उससे वह क्वेश्चन किया, मैंने कहा जी अगर मैं क्वेश्चन करूं, माइंड ना कीजिएगा, अगर आपकी कल को बेटी होगी तो क्या आप उससे ये जॉब करवाएंगी? कहती है कभी भी नहीं। सो देर आर सर्टन मैसेज के ये जो मैडम राबिया बात कर रही हैं कि ये तो बड़ा हमारा फॉर्मल सेक्टर, बड़ा छोटा सा सेक्टर है कि जिसके अंदर चले फीमेल्स आ रही हैं। आई थिंक पाइड को कोई स्टडी ये भी ज़रूर करनी चाहिए कि जो होलसेल रिटेल में आप बहुत सी फीमेल आपको मिल रही हैं, दे आर वेरी पैशनेट, बट व्हाट सॉर्ट ऑफ चैलेंजेस दे आर फेसिंग, तो ये हमें ज़रूर देखना चाहिए। थैंक यू।
Thank you. Thank you very much, everyone, for patiently waiting for this session and for having an opportunity to learn from our esteemed panel. And I would like to thank Dr. Arif, Dr. Rabia, and Dr. Shujaat for being here. And, you know, we have learned so much from you from today's discourse. Thank you so much.